Hi again. This is Ana Stephanie Munoz. I'm a Guatemalan entrepreneur, a transformational stress management coach. And in our company, we help people liberate themselves from, oh, there you go, Peter. There you are. Peter, Peter, are you here? Hey, how are you, Peter?
I'm doing
We
great.
made
How nice
it.
to see you. Yes.
The
So
same.
exciting. Let me
We
adjust
were
this.
we were having some technical issues, but I'm hope people are start to joining. I was introducing myself. My name is Ana Stephanie Munoz. I'm a Guatemalan entrepreneur, transformational stress management coach, and we help people transform their lives and leave that, inside in their head jail that they have so they can be a better version of themselves. And I want to introduce you to our special guest today. It's Peter Gonzalez. He's originally from Dallas, Texas. His father is Spanish. His mom is American, and he has a family here in Guatemala. So we have a very good connection here about, like we all relate with each other in the world. Um, I want to ask all our viewers if everything is okay to write something down or put our thumbs up. Hi Bilal, I see that Bilal already joined, so we'll see if the rest of the people are. Oh, the video is freezed. Okay, let's see if it's your internet connection or ours. I think ours is working, but let's see. Okay, that's a good point that he's making as well. Peter, if you can check if you are
Oh,
there. So I want to tell you that your inner world creates your outer world, and sometimes we don't understand why we don't have the love, the money, and the success we want. Um, how to solve the conflict between what we propose and the inner forces that prevent it from happening is the great challenging of our lives. Psych K is a simple, straightforward, effective, and easy to use process that allows you to skip all the years of suffering, effort, and pain and go straight to the result that you want to live. So Peter Gonzalez is a Psych method instructor since March 2008, and he's our special guest. He has given more than 400 workshops in 9 countries, and with his sessions and workshops, he has helped thousands of people all over the world to overcome fears and become the best version of themselves. Peter, could you share something else about yourself with our audience today, please?
hello, hello. First of all, can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure that you can hear me.
Yeah,
Excellent. Yes, what a pleasure to reconnect with you. It was such a fun way that we met, and what an
that's
honor to
right.
be here. What would I share about you? I would share about me that I have a passion for transformation. So it actually is, it goes beyond Psych K. Psych K is a modality that I discovered uh, in 2007 at a conference with Dr. Bruce Lipton. So I don't know if any of your audience has heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's a fabulous human being and a brilliant scientist, and he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. And that book really changed my life. So I had to go see him. And he was coming to Austin the next week. So I read the book on Sunday, and he was coming to Austin,
Mhm.
Texas, the very next week. And I didn't have the money to go. So being a photographer, I thought, well, maybe I can do a trade because the pictures weren't really that good of Bruce. And I thought, well, I can do a better
Mhm.
job than that. So the situation with Dr. Lipton is that he's just a very effusive, enthusiastic, passionate man.
Mhm.
And so I later learned why it's a little bit challenging to take pictures because, okay, how are you, Ruth? Oh, I'm doing great. Oh, can you not squint?
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
can you
yeah.
smile? Can you
Yeah.
smile? Oh, I mean, can you? And so he's so passionate that when he gets so excited, you can't
Mm.
see his eyes because his smile is so big. Anyways, what a beautiful human being. Anyway, at that conference is where I first saw a Psych demonstration. And as I was watching, sitting there, fascinated by this process, a part of me said, that's for me, and I'm going to take it to Spain. And it was like, well, I hadn't even experienced Psych K. I don't even know what it's
Oh.
about, but I knew I wanted to become an instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I became connected with Psych K, and that's how I had this calling. Then very
Mm-hmm.
next, as we were leaving, a friend of mine said, "Well, tomorrow I'm having a little open house for the woman who was doing the demonstration, her husband, who was the co-author of the second book." And
Mm-hmm.
so I went up to her, Trudy, and I said, "Trudy, I want to become an instructor. I don't know anything about Psych K, but I know it's for me." And she laughed, said, "Usually people do the workshop, they have sessions, they know about this process before they start wanting to become an instructor." But I knew that it was something that was going to be very valuable for me.
Mm-hmm. And it has, right?
It has been, yes.
Yeah. So, our going to our first question of today, I want to ask you, can you tell us how Psych K works and how it helps to handle stress better?
Yeah, I would start out with the stress part first. And I
Mm-hmm.
would just say uh, that neuroscientists, especially people who, scientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is a cell
Mm-hmm.
biologist, but the
Mm-hmm.
overlap there is that we start to understand what is the fundamental cause of stress. And that is when there are two different, you might even say concepts or behaviors
Mm-hmm.
that are out of alignment. So when they're in
Mm-hmm.
alignment, there is a flow, there's harmony, there's a
Mm-hmm.
well-being. But when there's a conflict between the two, then that's what creates the stress point.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, what creates a great deal of stress is that I would call it essence self. But my
Mm-hmm.
essence or my true self has this sense of what it wants to do. It can be described in many ways. Follow your bliss, follow your
Mm-hmm.
heart, just do what
Mm-hmm.
makes you happy. And once we connect with that, let's say we start on that path. But
Mm-hmm.
then there is another part, and that is, and this is what's laid out so beautifully in the book, and thanks for including it there, the biology of belief, it is that there's this programming that takes place. Now, the programming has been described in many different ways. The
Another
thing
part,
about it
and that
is
is,
that
mm-hmm, this is what's
there's
laid
an
out.
innocence about it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's not that people are trying to sabotage us. It's not like these maybe conspiracy theories about what's going on. It really is that biologically, and this is what Bruce's work revealed, we are in two different states of mind
Mm-hmm.
that are designed to absorb what's in the environment so that through the correct behavior that we need to survive that situation, we will then have it wired into us so that
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to keep learning like Groundhog Day, learn what's staying. So we have this period from the first 2 years in a really delta state, and then later on a
Mm-hmm.
hypnotized state. We're absorbing through the behavior that we get what's the best way to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there's been a lot of ignorance about that, the power of that. We just assume that a baby is just going to adapt to us. So rather
That's
than
true.
adapting our environment so that we can create the most optimum and best empowered individual, what we're doing traditionally all over the world is let the child adapt to us.
Mm-hmm.
So the timing could be off because we're not aware of their biological necessities. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to the movie for 2 hours, but we don't know how stressful that might be because the baby suddenly feels totally abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to the movie. Yes, but you're not in that state where those little cells are needing something. Because my
Exactly.
mind is way up here, and I'm thinking, well, I just went to the movie for 2 hours. You stay with a babysitter. Yeah, but if I'm just following that throbbing energy of that little baby and what their needs are, baby doesn't know, oh, it's just a movie. Oh, they'll be back in
No.
an hour. No, they're in a different state of being and state of
Mm-hmm.
mind. And so we become programmed with many things that create these internal emotional wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's a wounding there, my system, in its wisdom, is going to remember that. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
when you started to express yourself or your needs, when you were totally vulnerable, weren't
Mm-hmm.
weren't met, So therefore, every time we go and express ourselves, there's a reminder, oh, on the other side of that is this deep pain.
Exactly.
So hope this makes sense to answer the
No, it
question
does.
about stress. So I have this part of me that's designed very lovingly to protect, but because we're unaware of that, and you might call it the ignorance so far of our culture overall to be able to understand and use it wisely, I end up with a lot of wounds, and my system is designed to protect me from reliving that deep pain or the wound. So as I start to express myself, and usually it has to do, the deepest wounds are the ones that have to do with my own sense of self. As I start to express that self, the warning signs get triggered, and my system does what's appropriate. Let's shut that down because we know that on the other side is deep pain. And even in the case of rejection and abandonment, uh, loss of life, a baby can't exist by itself. So the threat that it's feeling is like, I'm going to die. Of course,
Exactly.
that doesn't make sense now, but my physiology doesn't know it. It's just wired. This is going to be dangerous. We see it coming up. It'll protect us, and that creates a sense of stress. It's like one part of me wants to expand, the subconscious has to protect, and that then
Exactly.
creates the stress point.
And the body
So
is
how,
tense.
yes. So how does Psych K work? So Psych K is like the best analogy is like it gives you an opportunity to reprogram the data. So if my data is that it's dangerous for me to express myself, I could put in a new program. I just type it out that says I feel safe and I feel safe and thrive when I express myself fully. So now as I start to express myself, there's not a boundary there that creates that stress, that resistance, that sense of, oh, I've got a barrier. There's no,
Exactly.
the inner saboteur disappears. So
Mm-hmm.
Psyche allows the individual, because it really does return the power to the individual, allows the individual to think about how they want to realign the information that's there to protect it, but has been misused, so now it's more limiting than it is aligned with my excellence.
Okay. So you start aligning what you have here with what you feel in your body, with what's happening, with what your best scenario would be in the situation, right?
Yeah, I would just say that it takes that protective database, which is really there. It's a real value. I mean, we often talk about having to kill the ego.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that why? Because, well, I think there's a misunderstanding there. That's why I like Bruce's model in his book better than Freud's model of the ego and the id and the superego. And that was a great explanation at that time. But now with quantum physics, we understand that there's more flow of energy, and we understand how this information, because of the states in which the brain is forming itself, how they get so deeply programmed. And if only we had better and more empowering programs, we would eliminate the vast majority of all the emotional pain that we suffer. I mean, we have an epidemic of emotional pain. Even
We do.
even I heard in a report that a study, it was in Madrid, I think Madrid or London, one of the cities in Europe. They were talking about how executives, 50% of executives admit to feeling lonely.
Yeah.
So the more connected we are through friends, sometimes we're losing that connection with human beings and being present and having our needs really met. So there's that, there's depression, there's young people committing suicide at the end of age of 10. When I
Yes.
first heard that, I thought 10,
It's crazy.
they must have made a mistake. No, it's just,
No, it's
so
happening.
the point is, if we can understand how to maneuver our emotions, because we understand, oh, well, I've got a behavior, sorry, man, it's just a reaction. But my
Yeah.
automatic reactions, sometimes they get in the way of my being able to be present with myself, because this is so
Yeah.
awkward that this comes up. I feel so bad. I usually put
Mm-hmm.
myself in a state of really talking badly about myself, and every time it
Mm-hmm.
comes up, I don't realize that, oh, that's interesting. Something must have been going on in my environment that it's now appropriate for this reaction to come up, this
Exactly.
fear or this rejection of myself or this feeling I'm not good enough. But
Mm-hmm.
it has nothing to do with my essence.
Yeah.
It is just the trick is
The
in being able to
situation.
separate the two. The
Mm-hmm.
trick is to realize that this and not get hooked in because it's like a little hook. It'll grab me,
Yeah.
and then I'm automatically feeling bad, and then it always happens to me,
Yeah,
you know.
the
But
guilt that we all suffer from.
guilt, the rejection. So
Yeah.
if I can include that in my being, oh, it looks like I was a little sponge. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
looks like, and I absorbed what was in the environment. Oh, there's blue paint, and there's green paint, and there's black paint, and I
Mm-hmm.
absorb what's in the environment. Huh. Okay.
Exactly.
Uh, did I absorb any yellow, like happiness and peace and being confident? No, there
Probably
wasn't
not.
that. Then where do I get that experience? I
Exactly.
don't. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. And so it's not that my essence is corrupted, it's that I absorb these things, and because the function of the subconscious is to protect me, it overrides the
Mm-hmm.
expression of my essence. So before my essence can express, boom, the reactive
Yeah.
part is
It's
active.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, this is very interesting, Peter. And I don't know if people have any questions, please write them down so Peter can answer them. If you write them after the Facebook Live, then we will continue to go in and answer them for you. So it's not a problem. And if you want to share this video or you want to watch it later because you didn't have time right now, it's perfect. It's going to be available, open to the public. So everybody, you can share it, you can watch it one, two, three times in a row if you want, don't worry. And I want to ask Peter, can you tell us about a success case story of one of your clients that with Psych K, his or her life changed and they were facing stress, anxiety, and depression? Can you tell us a success story about it?
See, I think the hardest part, Anna, is to select just one.
Select the toughest one, the one that you said, even for you, I mean, you knew it was going to work, but even for you, the situation was so awful that it changed completely. So, I want a story that will impact our viewers.
Okay, so one of the things that's the most interesting is what you said, one that was really hard for you and the way you framed it. The
Hmm.
beautiful part of the work is that there isn't any that is harder than any other.
Hmm.
So the way it's how my thinking has evolved is that it seems to be a universal component, a biological component, that we absorb what's in the environment. So a Maasai in Kenya will absorb
Hmm.
this. Uh, uh, a Tibetan will absorb what's
Hmm.
in their environment. Uh, Guatemalan will absorb what's their
Hmm.
environment. And so it's a biological thing. It's not just us Texans do this. No. So what I mean by that is that what's in the environment can be really harsh, but it's
Hmm.
still the same concept. In other words, the story can be different, but but
Hmm.
the frame is the same, if that makes sense. So someone who has been tortured and violated, raped, and lived excruciating experiences has that in the subconscious, just like someone who uh, the father picked up the doll because it was old and threw it away, and the child is totally devastated.
Hmm.
Meaning there is a maximum pain threshold that a human being can have. And I know that may seem strange, but if my maximum is because you threw away the doll that I was totally so closely associated with, and it meant so much to me, it was my everything. It could be at my level of registering of pain as painful as physical violence, because
Hmm.
each of them has reached this threshold. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? Obviously,
Yeah.
obviously, someone who's physically hurt, I think, uh, there's a different way of treating them person. But I think is what I'm saying is that not to take lightly somebody who it appears that you just lost your doll. It's old.
Hmm.
Yeah, but because I didn't have anybody else, that was my whole survival.
Exactly.
So I'm just saying, so rather than thinking that one is more difficult than the other, my maximum pain he's my maximum pain, regardless of what story is associated with it. So I understand your question. I'm just saying that one of the things that's
Yeah,
interesting
it's
about
hard.
this, and that the solution is really the same.
Hmm.
So my work involves seeing the divine essence of everybody, knowing that
Hmm.
whatever their story has been, it could be more, in my opinion, even more horrendous than somebody else's, but the pain factor is going to be the same for each person. Does that make sense? So it
Yep.
really is like just surrounding them with this energy, first of all, that whatever you have experienced,
Hmm.
you survived it. So the
Exactly.
situation that you're living now, you'll also be able to survive. So
Hmm.
some of the situations that come to mind, I mean, this isn't, uh, Psych K works at a way of reprogramming, so it really cuts through uh, some. Uh, um, I'll share this one because it really doesn't have to do with the question you asked, and I'll ask another one. But this is about a little girl. Um, I mean, I'm going to share it because it just feels right. But it was the one that
Hmm.
most impacted me, and it has to do with the
Hmm.
fact that once you learn Psych K at the different levels,
Hmm.
you can actually work at a distance. So
Okay.
so this involves a friend of mine, a Hungarian man who lives in Ibiza, an island,
Hmm.
Ibiza, and he once he had done the workshops, he started using the modality, and he was a caretaker of this big little a big piece of land that the owners just came for the summertime, and one day the owner's girlfriend, because they lived in Austria, comes running up to him and says, uh, I would say his name, but anyway, says, "Can you help me? Can you help me? Uh,
Hmm.
my my 1-year-old niece has fallen from a first-story balcony, and she landed on a motorcycle handle,
Oh my
and
God.
it's cut her neck, and the
Wow.
doctors don't feel that she's going to survive."
Wow.
And so he did. He told me the different work that he did, but things about how the body's ability to heal through anything, and it was something like just the programming. I don't want to go into all the details,
Hmm.
but the end result that he disimbalances for her capacity for like triggering her capacity to heal,
Hmm.
and he said that the very next day that woman came running up to him and said, look at it in the cell phone. Look. He says, the doctors don't know how it's happened. It's like a miracle. But Rhiannon has taken a turn for the better, and she's expected to come out of the hospital
Oh,
in a few days.
wow. Wow. That's
I mean,
amazing.
one of his balances was that I heal
Wow.
from my situation, and I come out of the hospital in a few days in a very short time. And I know it sounds kind of strange, but our ability to heal
Hmm.
is so great, the power that we have. And I
Hmm.
know that may not be exactly what you're asking in terms of emotional situations, but when that occurred, when I felt that, I thought if no other person gets any value from all the work they've done teaching, just hearing that story, ah, makes everything I've done worthwhile.
Exactly.
And and so then, but yeah, people who are afraid of flying, who have just a fear of flying, and it gets in their way. A woman who did a session, and she had to go a 16-hour flight from Barcelona to Bali, and she tells her
Wow.
partner, um, I probably am not going to talk. I get really nervous when they close the door, and the plane starts. So just give me some time, like an hour or two, and then I'll be more sociable. And so they're just talking and talking, and the door closes, and they're talking. The flight start the flight, and they're talking. So finally, the partner, her companion says, "Hey, wait! I thought you were gonna be having to take some quiet time." Oh, I didn't
Realize.
realize.
That's so cool.
So
Wow.
there's a lot of
Well,
situations like that. Being able
well,
to generate more money, being able
uh-huh.
to I'm sorry, go ahead. I could start
Yeah.
on a lot of stories.
No, and I wish we had more time, but we don't, unfortunately. Our time is almost over.
Oh, really? That was
And
fast.
yeah, we have like 1 minute left. But for
Oh,
those of you who speak Spanish, we're about to start the Spanish version of this Facebook Live. So we're talking about it in Spanish. But for those of you who don't speak Spanish, I don't know if you have any questions to Peter. As I said, you can always ask them when watching it again. It will be open for everybody if you want to share it as well. So I don't know, Peter, if you want to share something else with our audience, and at the end, if you can write down your website and your contact information if people have more questions or want to do training or consult you, yeah, privately.
yeah, I'd love to share that. I think the main thing what I'd like to communicate, because I started out the program saying that my passion is transformation. The best tool that I found to help people transform is Psych K. And and like you and I were talking about it, I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel that that you can say a tool is better
Mm-hmm.
than another. It really depends on what you need at the time. Like I was telling
Mm-hmm.
you before, it's hard to eat a bowl of soup with a hammer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to build a house nailing nails with a spoon. So
Mm-hmm.
the tool that best fits me is obviously the best one. Psyche, though, has an advantage that you don't have to dig in the past. You just have to know what outcome you want, and you go directly to programming your subconscious so it starts functioning that way. And then when you take action, you'll see that it works. So the main message I'd like to leave people is that no matter what kind of emotional pain or stress you're going through, or the upside of that, if you want to start to accelerate the development of your potential.
Mm-hmm.
So at times it's like, I've got to resolve these pain points. But once you
Mm-hmm.
get to where you're pretty stable, it's like, how do you accelerate your excellence? So
Mm-hmm.
Psyche works to help that as well. It's not just to solve problems, also to maximize the results that you can provide. Because you can
Mm-hmm.
fine tune the way you perceive your own systems. So the main thing is to recognize that
Mm-hmm.
anything that we're carrying that's creating pain is only a reflection of what was in our environment, and we're innocent of that.
Mm-hmm.
And just to start to love ourselves more, love, oh, there it goes again. Love all our spontaneous reactions. They're just
Mm-hmm.
my system responding. Knowing that it can be changed is also like the first step to really relaxing. And instead of being stressed about it, just going about it, well,
Mm-hmm.
it can be changed. It's just a matter of finding the time and the way to do it.
Exactly.
But at least I know whatever I'm going through has a solution. And then
Mm-hmm.
I can write it on here, transformo or info at transformo mi vida
Mm-hmm.
is the email, and transformomivida.com. You probably faster typing.
Don't worry. Well, I'm going to say bye to our audience. Um, Peter Gonzalez, our Psych K instructor, he's going to write down their information about his website, his trainings. My name is Ana Stephanie Munoz. I'm a transformational and stress management coach. And as I say, it's not fair that we live in incarcerated in our brains, in our heads, without living our life purpose. So we help you break that jail and transform your life to the better. So thank you again. And Peter, I'll give you a call on our Facebook Live in Spanish in about a second. So bye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure being here. If I can help you, I'll put my information there. I'd love to be able to do a session or help you in any way I can. Thank you, Anna.
Thanks, Peter. Bye.